Hey, hello, and good morning, everybody. Welcome to the 30th episode of Coffee Talk Live. This is the show where my guests and I explore what it means to live a sustainable, healthy life as mothers for ourselves in the home and in the community. I am your host, Connie Pastorius, the founder of the Strong as a Mother, Happy and Healthy Living Facebook group, which is the village for moms to feel heard and supported so they can live happy and healthy lives while raising happy and healthy babies. I'm also the woman in charge with Strong as a Mother and Pastorius Fitness, which is online coaching for busy moms who are ready to get stronger, gain energy, and reclaim their lives. So do me a favor, if you're watching live, drop a good morning or a 1 in the comments. And if you're watching the replay, just type in replay or a 2. That way I know that you guys are actually watching this stuff and I'm not just talking into internet space. Either way, please, I want to hear your voice in these conversations. So if you have questions in real time, that's the best part about this show, is that you can ask them while we're here having this chat and we'll answer them for you. But if you're watching the replay, just type it in the comments and we will get to them as soon as we can. So today's conversation is really cool and something that I'm admittedly not really great at yet. Still practicing, still getting there. But what I wanted to talk about was how we can start putting our money where our mouth is with regards to making better choices as consumers, right? We like to buy stuff. I don't feel bad about buying things. And I want to just become a better, more conscious consumer. So we're going to explore what that actually means and how you can start taking steps towards doing it yourself. So with that in mind, my guest today is an amazing woman and store owner in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania on Butler Street. The shop is called Spruce and Adorn. And my guest today is such an amazing person. Please welcome today's guest, Jenifer Schweitzer. Good morning, Jenifer.
Good morning.
Did I pronounce your last name right?
Completely. Yes. Good job.
It's the German in me.
Yeah. Sometimes you want to throw the Schweitzer in there, but.
Hi, I'm so happy to see you. So
I'm happy to see you again too.
Masks off too.
Yes.
That was really nice. So I met you. We were my husband and I took a little romantic birthday weekend getaway in Pittsburgh because that's where we're born and raised. The grandparents had the kid and we just wanted to spend a night on the town. So we headed to Lawrenceville, and after we went to breakfast at Poulet Bleu, we wandered into your store, and then you and I just started chatting, and the things that you were sharing with me, and as you took me on a tour of your store like it was a museum. It was amazing. And I just thought to myself, I think so many other moms could benefit from talking about this stuff. So I'm really looking forward to this chat today. Before we get started, I always like to ask, what's in the cup?
Well, I'm drinking my own French press Italian organic roast in soy milk with a little bit of lemon essential oil, actually.
Ooh, that's really interesting because when I was a barista at Starbucks, when they actually cared about coffee,
I worked there then too.
Wait,
yeah.
In Pittsburgh?
I worked at a couple in Pittsburgh and one in Cincinnati. Mm-hmm.
No way. Maybe we crossed paths. Anyway,
it's possible.
So they had a roast that was a very special Italian roast that had hints of lemon peel in it because they said that's what the Italians do. Is that where you got that idea?
It's not actually. There is a local coffee roastery here in Pittsburgh that actually had a lemon latte on order once, and I tried it. And to me, like when I actually even worked at Starbucks, I never got the Valencia mocha thing because I thought the acidity of citrus and the acidity of coffee with chocolate was like, I just couldn't wrap my head around it. It just like made my stomach hurt.
Mhm.
But what I liked about what I do with oils and the drink that I just tried that day is that they actually make theirs with a sugar base, and this has no sugar added to it. So it actually brightens the coffee, and lemon oil is actually really beneficial to us and can help our moods too. So in Pittsburgh, we lack a lot of vitamin D because of the gray skies.
Mhm.
So anything we could do to like help keep our spirits lifted.
Oh,
So
that's so
it was a
great. And
complete accident. I feel like all the best things in my life have been accidents.
I like that. I like that kind of way of thinking about it. The accidents, right? And it's
Yeah.
funny that you brought up the Valencia mocha, which I agree is so gross. But I think I commented once or posted once, and it became such a polarizing topic because I think chocolate and orange do not belong together. I was watching like Great British Bake Off all throughout lockdown, so like episode after episode, and every time somebody made like chocolate orange something, I cringe. And it's really like you either love it or you hate it, apparently. So it
Well,
sounds
I think like the more I've gotten to know about chocolate too, is that nothing is as linear as we think it is. There are so many layers to everything. And a bitter chocolate with a Valencia, I have actually learned to like, but I still don't, it doesn't excite me to want to have it with coffee. But
hmm,
yeah, I think it has to be the right combination.
yeah, and not just like super sweet like Hershey Kiss with a slice of orange or something
Exactly.
really big. Okay, so before we start talking about food for a half an hour, um, let's dive in. All right, so let's start with what does socially conscious and eco-conscious consumerism mean to you?
Well, I think when you posed this question to me, the thing that made me really excited was even like your response to the store. But what I've been trying to do, the mission here is literally invite people to feel more curious about social impact causes that are happening in our everyday global environment. We are so in our own little bubbles and so in our own little world. And so with our, you know, directive issues that we have to deal with in a day or growing our families or things like that, that I think that there is definitely a way to seek out how to be a contributor in positive impact ways to the greater good by the things that we start to become more intentional about that we either need in our life or that are intentionally providing a service or goodness back out into the greater globe for several different impacts that are occurring on a regular basis. They're
Mhm.
just not always in our ecosystem. So that can mean environmentally, that can mean social justice, that can mean, health conscious. I think you can really start to break it down. But once you start creating it as a practice, you can actually see how it all ends up connecting back to ground zero in our own lives. And then, when we hear about being actionable for different social impact causes, it can get really overwhelming when we feel like we don't have the empowerment to do anything. But really, our dollars can help us empower change and positivity and great global citizenship.
Yeah, and I love this idea of actually thinking about what it means to be actionable and how we can take steps because I feel like oftentimes the conversation is just don't shop at Amazon, don't shop at Walmart. And then people are like,
Mhm.
okay, well then what do I do? Like,
Right.
is shopping at like a smaller chain okay? Or do I have to go pay like super high boutique retail prices for these things to feel better about myself? And then we also end up going into what this relationship we have with money actually
Hmm.
means. So I'm just so excited. I'm getting goosebumps because this is a really cool topic. And I love learning. So okay, then let's take a second and tell us about how you wandered into Spruce and Adorn and this beautiful store that you have.
Thank you so much. It's I actually call it my artist call to action, love of labor. Essentially it's a spinoff to the original business I started 20 years ago last Friday. So I'm actually excited for you. This is your 30th episode.
Happy
two little
anniversary.
anniversaries.
Yay.
Yeah, so for I've been an artist my whole life. I have a twin sister, and, we've always had very polarizing, I call her the yin to my yang, because together we make the perfect person, but we have such different drives and interests, but such a loving relationship. So I think my art has always made me want to root for the underdog, and also in identity and my own.
I'm going to pause you just for a second, Jenifer, because I lost
Artists.
you. You broke up just a little bit. I lost your audio for a second. Let's see. Let's wait for this to catch up. All right. We back?
I'm back.
All right. Video's still a little laggy. All right.
Let me try something.
Yeah. Hey, while Jenifer works on her Wi-Fi, I will let you know that today's episode has been sponsored by absolutely nothing, because I do all of this by myself. And I've been listening to podcasts all throughout my traveling, and it's so cute whenever they weave in their little sponsorship posts. And I was like, man, that'd be a really cool thing to be sponsored by like some coffee company or something. So any coffee companies out there listening, please call me.
It's true solopreneurship.
Yes. Okay. So do you want to turn off your camera real quick and then turn it back on and see if we can
Sure.
Because I can hear you now.
Does that help?
No, it's just you. A black screen.
Wow. Do you want me to leave and come back?
If you want to give that a shot.
Okay.
All right, and I'm back. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm hanging out at the lake house again for a little while, and let's see, I'm just hanging out, spending a little bit of time here, finishing up some projects before I go back to New York City. So that's what's going on in my life. But we're gonna just make this work, right? This is Zoom life as we know it now. She's back and she's sideways.
Oh no, let me try.
Beautiful.
All right.
Okay, so we were talking about your origin story.
Do you know where about it left off?
You know what? Let's just start at your
The beginning.
Yeah, let's start at the beginning. It was a cold January morning when I was born.
It seriously was.
Oh, that's right. Are you an Aquarius too?
I am.
That's right. I think I remember hearing just like a little bit of that when we were having our quick conversation. I meant to come back to it, but yeah, Aquarius unite. Okay, back to the topic at hand. How'd you get into this store?
So the store is actually what I call, essentially it's a spinoff to my original design services, which is a company I started 20 years ago this last Friday. And I'm actually a visual communicator. So at the end of the day, I've been doing visual communications, branding, marketing, environmental design for commercial and residential spaces in that time span. And I think in the earlier clip, I'm sharing that some of the drive of the store, I think, comes from my own desire to have my own identity from this polarizing relationship or twinship that I have with my twin sister. So we've always just kind of been opposites. And if she wore pants, I wanted to wear a skirt. If she wore pink, I wanted to wear purple. And so it kind of really set this tone in my life for seeking out things that are different and kind of looking for new solutions. It definitely drives my design work. I love innovation, and I love exploring what different identities look like. And essentially, my first job too kind of lended into my desire to like explore cultures. When I worked for a Polish man at my first design firm, and my fellow designer was from Japan, from Venezuela, and our administrator was from Japan. And so our roundtable discussions just really got me excited about what globalness looked like. And as I dove into that, and then again, I accidentally, that's what I was saying. I think some of the best things in my life that have happened have been accidents. I got into interiors on accident just to make bread and butter money by working for 2 different furniture companies that really gave me some excitement about what furnishings look like and how it bridged this conversation about what it was like for me to be a print designer. So Spruce and Adorn became kind of a culmination of my love for communicating and storytelling, and really just like celebrating and creating environments that evoke emotion out of people. And I really, in this particular space, kind of met the idea with this concept that, you know, one day when artificial intelligence is going to put pressure on society about what it looks like when we start experiencing job loss, or just different aspects of comfort that we have gotten used to, how are we going to end up treating each other as human beings? And so I wanted to create a space that was communal and celebrated music and gave people the invitation to be curious, to discover things like different books that they may not encounter, or innovative products like the candle that I carry. And it just, after curating items and goods for other people and actually branding other stores or other businesses, actually, I just got really excited about this idea to create an environment for myself that I felt like I could express the full vision of what I can do for other people. So it's kind of my living portfolio. And then it really gives me such great pleasure that I literally try to share some of the most innovative products with people at the front door, so that people really take the time to discover and be wowed by things that are not what our eye would typically see them to be. And literally hope to celebrate by the storytelling of all the Good for Good collections that I carry, to allow people to see more good in the world than there is hardship, because COVID kind of like sped up that whole AI process that I had in my head. And when you look at this last year, we really saw many layers of how society is functioning, and it gives us an opportunity to learn from it and to keep growing into the future, and with intention and sustainability, especially for our environmental factors.
Yeah, so you mentioned a lot of really cool things, and what I think is really what's really interesting is that during lockdown, everybody has spent a lot of time in their living space and decided, like, I'm uncomfortable, this needs to change, or that something was missing, and everybody cleaned house, or it just became a giant mess, and then maybe they eventually cleaned. But either way, a lot of people decided to start reinventing or changing the space that they lived in as to become more of a representation of them. So then here you are with this really special curated collection of items that whenever they hear the story or understand where it's coming from, and then they put it on their wall at home, or they put it on their shelf, then that brings that meaningfulness to their conscious. And
Mhm.
like when they look at it, that kind of starts to represent like that's a value of me. I'm looking at the picture that I bought from your store of the yogi.
Cool.
But it the space that we're in, it becomes a reflection of who we are and the things we care
Mhm.
about. So beyond just like photos of our family or family heirlooms or stuff, we can start using these kinds of items to represent the things we care about, which then become either ingrained in who we are and how we practice and how we just live our lives, but also as talking points for our guests and the people that come into our homes. So
Mhm.
I'd like to start. I'd like to start talking a little bit about how being socially conscious and with our purchases and stuff, how this affects us as women and as moms on like a very personal level.
Well, I think one of the things that you and I were kind of before the show, kind of going back and forth about, was that I was offering that when we start to be a leader in the products that we buy and the gifts that we give, then we start to really influence. We start to influence what intention looks like in gift giving, to our peers, to our kids. You know, when we're actually purchasing books where we see all different kinds of cultures in the books, then we are lending to the next generation that is a normalized thing, instead of the polarization of what kind of like anti-racism things that we're continuing to navigate through at this time. And really, when we feel good about the things that we're doing, and I think that self-care is a huge component in this sustainable culture. You know, there's tones where it can feel that we're being too selfish for ourselves, but it's really when we love and engage and empower ourselves, or give ourselves permission to be curious. Like, I love that you said that you felt curious and excited. This is a first time kind of conversation for you, that when we start to become more curious about that and start to use it in our daily lifestyle, we really create leadership and acceptance of creating these positive changes and vibes.
Yeah, I've had this conversation with a bunch of my clients during one of our group calls about having kind of a personal set of core values and
Mm-hmm.
creating like, okay, what do you actually give a shit about? What actually matters to you? Does the environment actually matter to you? Like, is that something that every day you're like, I want to do better, I want to recycle better, I want to be more conscious, like da da da. What are the things that you actually care about, and are your actions aligning with those things that matter? And like
Right.
you're saying, with an act of self-care is aligning those actions with what you actually care about.
Yeah.
And that's really
One particular product line just kind of came to mind to share with you. There's a really beautiful line that I carry in store by a local woman here in the city of Pittsburgh, who happens to make luxury handbags and jewelry. And to me, that's one of those things. Like, I love to buy vegan bags. There's a company that I have been kind of religious in getting my goods from. But with something like Sandra's too, it's like, when you're going to invest in a bag, it feels really good to know that I need a new wallet. But this particular wallet is not only made authentically, it's made with design uh, integrity, but it's also sourced from this place where the designer is actually from Cali, Colombia. And she hires women who have lost their husbands to gun violence and incarceration. Dignified wages she pays them to keep their family lifestyles moving forward. And so when I get into a space of the world is overwhelming, or I feel alone, to know that I'm buying something that's giving another woman power in herself makes me feel so good and so connected to a stranger in a way that I know that now that's part of my ecosystem to think about and consider when I want to compare bag A to bag B. I'm not just looking at price and structure and usability, but I'm also now factoring in what kind of contribution is it making to the greater good of society? And that has just become like a larger and larger practice. And I started small too, and I am human and I'll, slip up myself, but it's a practice because we continue to make it more normalized for ourselves. When someone stops you and says, my gosh, I love that wallet. It's, there's so much design detail to it, and the excitement that you can share with people about where the bag came from, that is huge. And then it gets them to know you a little bit better and the kinds of things that they might want to consider buying you, because that's what I mean by contagious. It just becomes like something that inspires other people. And it really goes into our younger generation, our current generation, married, single mom, full family. We all deal with isolation and loneliness. And, I think these are the things that make me really excited to know that just a small little thing on my end is helping contribute to a company that's making a bigger impact, but I'm just a small portion of supporting them in that journey.
Yeah, and everybody likes talking about where they got their cool stuff from. Like, if anyone
Totally.
compliments me on my dress, and the first thing I say is either it has pockets or like I got it at a really at a really cool store. Like, everybody wants to talk about the things that they really love, and I think it's really nice too because I feel like it helps stop this this problem of fast fashion, where we're being very wasteful and buying too many things, and then we're just either storing them and filling our house up with clutter and things we don't really need, or just buying over and over, and you think you're only spending $20, but then in the spring you spend another 20, and then another 20, and another and in the first place, if you found something that really meant something to you, that really felt special, you would be saving money, but also having that awesome understanding of where it came from and why it actually matters. And I want to touch on something too that I feel is really important, and it took me a while to understand this myself, but like the love languages, right? Almost everybody has read this book. It's great for relationships, but understanding how you give love and how you receive love. And for some people, buying shit is not like getting presents isn't necessarily their love language. For me, it is. And I don't feel bad about it. I love presents and I love giving presents. Oh my God. I love giving stuff away all the time. But even if you don't love giving or don't love gifting or receiving, somebody might feel that their love language is being heard and being understood. And if you understand, or if you heard that there's a particular cause that they care about, and your gift is now like, oh, I did this, or I contributed to this organization, or this item is supporting this purpose because you told me that you cared about this, like, we're communicating better, and we're hearing, and we're expressing love through items that actually mean something to them. So maybe, a purse isn't a thing that they necessarily feel loved about if it's like a Dooney and Burke or something from Target or whatever. But if you tell this story and supporting women who are victims of gun violence in their families, that's something that's valuable, and it's a way that you can help without flying over there and giving the women a hug, right? Because that's not a solution. That's not a sustainable solution, and it's not a way to actually facilitate change. But this is us using our money and our intention in a way that can be helpful, even on a small scale. But right now, I think small is a great starting point.
Totally. And actually, you made me excited just to bring up the whole mask thing that I carry in the store too, because, that is something that last year, nobody knew what we needed. Nobody knew what it was supposed to look like. Nobody knew what safety measures to take. And so as a designer, I was actually helping friends of mine that are in fashion figure out how to be a part of the bigger ecosystem to get the masks when there was even a shortage for nurses. But it also brought, I have a connection in my family to the Navajo Nation. And, when we're needing masks, one of the good for good concepts that I came up with too was this curation of goods that with the mask, giving the gift of a mask, giving the gift of a fashionable mask, right, might seem a little superficial at the moment, but the mask that I was carrying had the intention behind it that I've been making a donation to an organization called the Navajo Water Project. And so this is another example of, taking something that is of need to us at the moment, maybe adding a little bit of joy and glamour to it with the combination of it's going back out into the greater global good. A large reason that the Navajo Nation was suffering such large losses last year was because they didn't have the infrastructure set up that we do in our contemporary society of clean running water, but it's due to their sacred beliefs. And so what I love about this company is that they had been working with them prior to COVID to put water buffaloes next to the homes of the indigenous so that they could have clean running water and water spigots in their homes. And so when we're talking about the greater good and we were hearing about the Navajo Nation on, the nightly news, this was my contribution. Again, artist call to action to educate people on how we take care of our brothers and sisters, because to love thyself first, I need a mask. You might spend a little extra money knowing that there's a donation going to a greater cause. But at the end of the day, I'm loving thy neighbor at the same time. And by empowering myself, I'm now able to empower other people. And there's something so true about, being on the airplane, and you have to give yourself the oxygen first before you can lend it back out to someone else. And I think that is one of the biggest underlying themes of the store, is really giving people an opportunity to take pause, to sit with reflection. And I carry smudge sticks in store for that great purpose. I share with people I'm not like a witchy witch, but I definitely enjoy witch practices. And there's people that I would send you to that have a much more deeper connection to it if you wanted to really dive in. But what I love about where I am in this, like helping bridge, two different spaces into one, is that, when in my own anxiety and my own anxiousness and my own fears, there's tools that I've gotten to know that help me center myself so that when I'm in a peaceful and safe space in my own spirit, that I can create things like this. This is me doing my bigger thing in the world to be a better brother or sister to society. So I think it kind of, for me, the practice has grown and blossomed into this whole concept of, your small dollar starts somewhere, but it blossoms into such bigger things. And I think at the end of the day, caretaking and the roles of women in society are only going to get stronger, as we continue to battle what healthcare looks like, and, what jobs might look like when artificial intelligence, is going to start taking over, like automation. The one thing we know to be true is that AI so far has never been able to evoke emotion. And I think it's the nurturing of motherhood and the nurturing of ourselves that really society is going to thrive or not thrive, because we need more compassion in the world. And I think at the end of the day, this is like, the strongest role that we have to offer and play, but we have to take care of ourselves first.
That is such a beautiful sentiment. And if that was like the one thing that we ended the conversation on, it would be absolutely perfect. But I'm not done with you. I want to talk for a second. First of all, this is an Eaton Park smiley mug. I thought you would appreciate that. Bring in a little bit of Pittsburgh into my home. But I have your candle, and I want to talk about it for a minute, because this is unlike any candle I've ever had, and it comes with instructions. So talk away.
Well, I actually found it in my travels, and it's something that I brought into the store and kind of made my signature product. And it's exactly the kind of innovation that I love to share with customers. So it's definitely one of the products that I introduce you to when you first walk into the store. And my whole description of it is, it looks good, it smells good, it burns with clean essential oil. So it's not putting toxins into the air, but tenfold it functions for us, because the whole precipice behind the store is that everything is curated off the idea that it carries good vibes, has great intentions, or functionality. And so with the function of the candle, it's one of those things that the eye would not normally pick up, oh, I'm going to dip my finger in a candle, unless you were like me as a child who loved to put glue on her hands and peel away. But essentially, it is a highly therapeutic luxury lotion candle that is really beneficial to the skin. It's with all essential oils. It comes in 2 sizes and 18 cents. And yeah, it's just like super incredible, but it's part of the whole mind body component to the store. One of my favorite things to do with it is kind of actually create a hammam in my own bathroom and put it in front of a mirror and turn off the lights and hang my eucalyptus from my shower and listen to some music and literally just give myself like 10 minutes of spirit release. But one of the other features that I really love about it is the sustainable packaging on it. And Connie, I don't know if we really got to talk about this or not, but that's the votive size. And so it's incredible for, you know, making a shot glass or making a bud vase. I love that it's just like a nice clean glass. So there's no extra frill or anything aside from my own label on it. With the larger size, it's probably like 3 times that size. And then it comes with like a black lid. And my favorite thing about that is great drinking glass, great pencil holder. The tops are actually incredible floor mover or floor sliders, like if you're moving furniture, or actually use them as coasters. And so I love to plant that seed with people again, that, you know, when we look at things with specific packaging, I mean, even my own bags, I've been in this debate to get my own personalized bags for the store. And at the moment, I just use my brown paper bag with my own little sticker on it. But I really struggle with it because I know, and I'm a print fanatic, like what the print industry, how that contributes, right? But what I know about my bags, and I've been doing this for, I think 9, almost 10 years at this point, is that the grocery store that I shop at gives me paper bags. And so I haven't bought garbage bags in 10 years because the paper bags biodegrade in the earth. And when I can throw my trash in them, then that is my contribution, another like small contribution, and maybe saves me $120 a year. But I also know that it's going to break up once it's in, you know, the dump. Exactly.
And can I say that like this, my hands feel amazing. They aren't, it's not greasy. It's not, it's obviously not wax. And they smell, I have the light and lemon scent burning right now, and it smells like a lemon cookie to me, like a nice lemon cookie. And it's just,
and would you agree? It's like, they're not overly sweet. They're not, you know, they come in like savory and neutral and herbal and what I call like the homeopathic scents, but they're not, they're just perfect. They're not overbearing.
And it's a great, like, it's a great gift, like we were talking about before, by like saying, here's a candle, but I'm going to have a conversation with you about this, because it's not just like a Bath and Body Works candle, because you can use 100% of this as a candle, as moisturizer, and repurposing it after it's burned out. And I think that's, you know, another little, like, these are small things that we have to just start thinking about it and thinking.
Yeah. And you were asking me about what's in my mug, and I was saying this is an old jam jar. So
and it's kind of, I mean, we have to start undoing our belief that just because something is traditionally labeled single use, that it doesn't have to be. And it just takes an extra few seconds to be like, what can I use this for? And without having like a hoarding mentality, right?
Right. And it's challenging too, because like, you know, with your local, what's the word I'm looking for? Garbage services, I'll just say, essentially our recycling rules just changed in the city of Pittsburgh. And so what used to be recyclable is not necessarily recyclable anymore. Glass was actually damaging the machinery, and now they've improved their machinery, but you can't put glass in the recycle containers anymore. And so it's really wild, because at the end of the day, when you start thinking about that, where we put things and how we contribute to how things get organized to keep those systems running and functioning is one thing. But I even just noticed one of my favorite coconut waters is now offering it in a recycled paper container versus the old one with the foil inside or the can that I used to buy it from. And so, you do pay a couple extra cents, but your extra cents is an investment in your child's future into tomorrow. And I think that Greta Thunberg is such an inspiration. There's a book I'm bringing into the store called We All Are Greta Thunberg. She's actually taking on fast fashion at the moment to help us consider and think about that. But I think this is a really golden opportunity where kids are very intuitive. They really pick up on what's happening around them. They're completely creative. They don't have the roadblocks that we put in place because of, things that may have happened to us or, lessons that we've learned and the fears that we put and associate with them. So listening to the youth at this time about what their future is going to look like, I think is so immeasurable. And I'm not with child. I have 8 nieces and nephews, but they really inspire me, and they have always excited me about, even giving them gifts that make their mind think in creative ways. And so they're my inspiration too. And my late pup who passed away last year, she taught me so much. She had cancer right before she passed away. And I even learned things about chemotherapy in pets that I had never been exposed to before about, making sure that chemo, passings are disposed of properly so that other animals aren't eating it. I mean, there's just so much to kind of factor in, but I think we all start to get more aware of things as we are presented with different life lessons in our journey. And so I think, again, just being forgiving and vulnerable and open to learning new things is the greatest gift that we can give ourselves, to be more empowering for others.
I agree. And in the ways that we've been discussing, it's not like you have to stop your whole life and spend a week in the mountains in silence and really deep diving and overhauling your whole life, because moms, we don't have time for that. Entrepreneurs, we don't have time for that. So understanding that, for example, what you were saying with the paper trash bags and being a more conscious consumer means that if you understand the whole life cycle of what you're buying, you end up with less waste. So from purchase to disposal, you're creating less of a footprint on the environment. And again, if the environment's something you give a crap about, that's a win-win. If it's based on whatever it is that is important to you and that matters. Is it the way the global warming is moving forward? Is it the way that education is adapting, or whatever it is that you care about? Starting to think about how can I just start bringing this into my daily practices, even just one thing at a time. So if you had a piece of advice for a mom listening to start by taking one simple step towards the stuff that we talked about today, what would that be?
I think to just kind of sit and resonate and feel what is the first priority that feels comfortable to make a shift and change in with their own family. I know even when I started my first website for my other company, I don't know how to buy into stock to help provide more wind power, in the state of Texas. And I can't control Texas, but I can control some of the small things that I do for myself. So I even have my website powered through a company that buys wind credits. And that was my small contribution. So that made me feel excited that when the Duquesne, the local light company came and said, would you like to buy, into sustainable energy for an extra 3 cents per watt? I do, because I want that for the future. And so I think it can start in so many places, but even just looking at your utility bills and seeing, learning more about your local recycling, picking up on what your kids are saying and finding out what they're passionate about can start a new family habit by feeding their curiosity and engaging in it as a family. I think you start small, but I think you start with what is more in your realm at the moment.
Path of least resistance.
Yes. Yeah.
Um,
Whatever feels manageable. I think when we start to create the mountain out of a molehill, that's when we stop ourselves and get overwhelmed and give up and say, this isn't for me. But if you literally start with the ant hill, it can grow into the molehill and then grow into the mountain. And so I think it's just, you just got to start. One of my signature, I have a t-shirt that I actually have for the store, and it literally reads, seated by change and good vibes. Because again, like a lot of things that have happened for me in my life have happened out of like complete and utter accidents. Like my journey into homeopathic care actually started on a trip I took to Texas when I had really bad acne. My trip into sustainability and living a more simplistic life occurred for me after a shift of having a house fire 15 years ago. Like they start with our own experiences. And so collectively, like 15 or 20 years later, I'm able to stand here and be a storyteller and try to get people to just feel more curious and excited about, what sustainable living and just, again, sustainability, I think, is for the greater good. And so it boils down for me about being a better brother and sister. And it always starts with our inner peace. So start in a place of peace.
Yes, I agree. And I would reinforce or add on to that, just like, with what I do with starting any like weight loss or fitness coaching programs, is to not look at the journey that you have to do to get to the end point, is just to take the first step. Just pay attention to what you have to do today. So if you're sitting there thinking, me switching from plastic to paper bags isn't enough to make a difference, you never know what impact that decision is going to make in the world around you, in the people you talk to, and that. So enjoying and really appreciating the ripple effect of making choices that align with what you really truly care about. So
yeah, and often those things are determined by like laws and mandates change and are put into place when it's all about demand. So if we're not demanding plastic bags anymore, then they're more likely to start getting rid of them. And so that's one decision at a time. That's how we can have the positive ripple effect.
When we worked at Starbucks, it was plastic straws, plastic lids, plastic everything. And I never thought in my lifetime I would have to ask for a straw at Starbucks, or they switched to paper and switched to sippy cup lids. Like it wouldn't happen if we didn't start caring about it. So keep caring, keep making us think about things that you care about until the change happens. So,
and they had a great model too. Do you remember when they used to collect their coffee espresso grinds and give them to people to put in the garden?
They still do.
Like that's even a small start,
Grinds for your garden. And I didn't know that coffee grinds, for anyone watching who also loves coffee, it is nitrogen rich in the soil, and your garden loves it. So instead of throwing it in the trash, put it in your plants. Eco tip of the day. Jenifer, it has been an incredible delight, and I know that these episodes are usually 30 minutes, but whenever we are elbow deep into some really cool conversations, I know it goes over a little bit. So thank you for sharing everything that you know about all of this. And tell us, please, where is your store? What's your website? What's your Instagram? How can we connect with you to learn more and buy your amazing things?
Oh my gosh, your support would mean everything. I actually just relocated my store. So I actually was inside of a restaurant for the last 2.5 years, and I had transformed. One of my superpowers is to transform spaces, their former stockroom, into a store. And so I just relocated to 3609 Butler Street in the Lawrenceville district of Pittsburgh. And I was slated last year to start hiring when we had closures due to COVID. So I'm actually still operating this by myself. And the website will be coming eventually, but you can definitely follow me on Instagram. You can see I put a lot of love and care and intention into it. And it's literally just the handle @Spruce and Adorn. on all social media platforms. If anyone is ever interested in touring the store, there's actually a link in my Instagram. I believe it's in my Instagram. It's definitely on my Google page that you can actually book a 30-minute session. This is how I've been doing web sales, is by doing a store tour with you, so you can have a personalized introduction to the store like Connie got in person. And at this time, that is the best way to reach out to me. If there's products that you see on my Instagram, then you are welcome to just send me a DM. If there's gifts you want to buy or gift cards, or, again, you just want like a consultation, you're welcome to do that. I do actually offer consulting services through One Girls Graphics. So I have actually worked with many people long distance before, and can help people with their home improvement projects for an hourly rate. So
that's awesome. I love it. And I thank you again. I think Butler Street just has so much opportunity to come back with a bang. If anybody is in Pittsburgh, please go spend time hanging out down there. It has the coolest stuff, and Le Gourmandine has a special place in my pastry loving heart as well. So visit Pittsburgh, visit Lawrenceville, visit Jenifer in her store, hang out with her on social media, and start making these small changes. All right. So thank you, Jenifer. Cheers to a lovely conversation today.
Cheers.
And for anyone watching, I would invite you to continue the conversation in the comments section, which will post all of Jenifer's information. But please, I want to hear your takeaways. If you continue to have questions, she is a member of the Strong as a Mother group now, and would be happy to field your questions. So please remember to invite your moms into our Strong as a Mother, Happy and Healthy Living Village. We can't wait to meet you and hang out with you and connect. So if you're watching this on the replay, please like, share, and subscribe on our YouTube channel so you can continue getting awesome information on how to live a sustainable life as a mom in the home for yourself and in the community. So until next week, stay strong, stay caffeinated, and I will see you in the group. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.